Well, it's the wars. I mean, that's the big issue. The Ukraine war and the Israel wars. And they just keep ramping up. And now, as we go on the air, what is the latest that they killed, about 290 something people got killed in Lebanon? I mean, it's a freak show. You got this little clown that used to play the piano with his so I'm not making that up. You could Google it up. Zelensky, who's the president of Ukraine. He was a sitcom guy, a comedian. And now he comes to Pennsylvania and they're bragging about, we make the weapons in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's so great to have you here. I mean, yeah, people have no idea about how this war started and why. I mean, we only wrote about it in detail in the Trends Journal as it was happening. Yeah, look how happy this guy is. This is back in 2014 when the United States overthrew the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych in Ukraine. People have no idea about this. Oh, how proud we are that you're here. Who's this little clown, Shapiro, the senator, governor? Who the hell are you guys talking to? The war is the big issue. We are on the verge of nuclear annihilation. Putin's even warning it. Again, we put the facts in the Trends Journal. Take the Israel war. We pay to go to Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper. And then, of course, we go to Jerusalem Post. We go to Times of Israel. Oh, then we go to IRNA, ISNA, Tehran Times. Oh, we want to hear what they have to say. Oh, we go to Middle East Eye. We go to Al Jazeera. We go to Middle East Monitor. We want to hear what Arab News. We want to hear what they have to say. But no. You only are allowed to believe what we tell you. If you don't believe what I tell you, I'm your lousy little piece of crap politician. If you don't believe the crap spewing out of my mouth, you believe in misinformation. The people don't have a clue what's going on. I've been at this since 1980. The genocide going on, bombing the hell out of Gaza, now escalating the war. This is insanity. Russia will be forced to use tactical nuclear weapons against NATO, said former Putin advisor in a new interview. All right? That's my major concern. Go back and we only put the facts in. From the very beginning, Russia wanted a deal. They met with Turkey when the war began in February 24th, 2022. A month later, they're trying to negotiate a peace deal. The United States said they were totally against it. And they had that little clown, the best cartoonist in the world, could not come out with a more clownish figure than the little jerk over there in the UK, Boris Johnson. Remember Boris Johnson going to Kyiv as the mouthpiece for America not to do a ceasefire. And now they're saying that guy Stoltenberg, the little jerk over there, the NATO head, no, we got to continue to send weapons so Ukraine could defeat Russia. They stole $30 billion of Russian assets that they had deposits and gave it to Ukraine to get more weapons. They don't want peace. These are maniacs. Like I said, this has been going on for centuries. What's your favorite war? You like the Peloponnesian War? No, I like the 100-Year War. The War of Roses was so lovely. And one war, what's your favorite crusade? Well, I like the Third Crusade better than the Eighth Crusade. Well, the First Crusade. This stuff's been going on forever. You got maniacs. These are evil people. You got this guy, they call themselves Christians, but Christ would believe in war. I mean, if you believe in your God, there's no God. How about thou shalt not kill? And we got to go any further than that? I mean, we got to negotiate for peace. Look, you heard of the Samson option, SAMSON. If Israel loses, they say they're going nuclear. They have between 200 to 400 nuclear warheads. And then you're looking at what's going on now with Ukraine. And we've been writing about this for over a year and a half, that they're going to attack a Russian nuclear power plant, which they did. And it's out of the news. They did it about a month ago. And then there's going to be a false flag event that drags the people into war. There's an article here. Everybody should Google this up. History Today. I didn't know about this until 2 years ago. United States freezes Japanese assets. On July 26, 1941, President Franklin Roosevelt seized all Japanese assets in the United States. You know why? In retaliation for Japanese occupation of French Indochina. Wait a minute. Okay. French Indochina? What are the French doing in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos? We're stealing their tin, their rubber, rape, pillage. French Indochina? What are you doing over there? Then Britain, And the Dutch East Indies followed suit. Dutch East Indies? You mean the Dutch robbing, stealing, raping, pillaging over in Indonesia? The result, Japan lost access to 3/4 of its overseas trade and 88% of its imported oil. They only import 100%. They lost 3/4 of their trade, 3/4 overseas trade. Can't understand why they bombed Pearl Harbor about 6 months later. I suggest people listen to or read John F. Kennedy's speech to graduating students at American University in June of 1963. It's all about peace. And he goes on to say that we should not hate the people in the Soviet Union. They suffered more than anyone else in World War II. They lost their factories, their farms, their homes, their land from the equivalent of Chicago East. He said, if we go to war with them, a nuclear war, this is 1963, life on Earth will be destroyed in 24 hours. He ends the speech by saying, America will never go to war again. That's June. July, August, September, October, November, Jack, you're dead. 8 months later, they get us into the Vietnam War. I have a photograph of me and John Connally and his wife Nellie. John Connally was the governor of Texas, the Democratic governor, sitting in front of Kennedy, took the bullet in the back. I have a photograph of me, him, and his wife in front of the book depository. It was his first time back since the assassination. It was 1992. As we're going back into the Anatole Hotel, he said to me, I read your book, and it was this book, Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends Time magazine. He said, I know your heart's in the right place. He said, but you don't have a clue what's going on, and neither do the American people. Because if they did, there'd be a revolution in this country. This is 1992. He's also the John Connally that became a Republican and was the Treasury Secretary under Nixon that took us off the gold standard. People call it a government. I call it a crime syndicate. Sometimes people call me a futurist, and I said, there's no such thing. You can't predict the future. There are too many wild cards, whether they're made by humans or nature. So here was the thing. We were writing up until 2020 that the 20th century was the American century and the 21st century would be the Chinese century, because the business of America has been war and the business of China is business. Then China launches the COVID war in January 2020, and they lock down the place for 3 years of zero COVID policy. Again, tracking trends is the understanding of where we are, how we got here to see where we're going. Let's go back when little Billy Clinton let China come into the World Trade Organization. They officially came in 2 weeks after 9/11. You look at China's GDP from 1970 to 2001. It goes up and all of a sudden shoots up. With every boom, there's a bust. They overbuilt it. Some 30% of China's GDP is in the real estate market. Again, with all booms, there's always a bust. They made a bad situation terrible with their 3 years of zero COVID policy. They destroyed the lives and livelihoods of hundreds of millions. So now you're seeing more tariffs, more restrictions putting on China. The trade wars are heating up again. What will happen? We've been writing that China is going to be moving more towards self-sustaining and self-sufficient economy. It's not going to be buying luxury items made from Europe anymore. It's going to be made in China. They have 1.4 billion people. America has what? 332 million? We got about 400 or 500 million in Europe. They become self-sustaining, made in China. You have 1.4 billion people doing business with each other. Everybody's doing really well. So that's what they're going to start doing. And they're going to keep Belt and Road Initiative. They're going to keep expanding in emerging countries. The world has had enough of the United States socioeconomic and geopolitical hegemony. They're fed up with America. You see what's going on with the BRICS and more talk about, a BRIC currency backed by gold. And by the way, one of our top trends for 2024, it's right there on January 2nd, golden year for gold. Gold is up almost $600 an ounce since we made that forecast. This is the beginning of the death of the dollar. This isn't rocket science. You got what? When you look at the real debt, it's not 35 trillion. It's more like 265 trillion in the United States. It's costing $2 trillion a year just to service the debt. Further interest rates go down, the deeper the dollar falls. The deeper the dollar falls, the higher gold prices go up. And now we have to look at the geopolitical situation, which we won't talk about because they won't talk about it. I'm being facetious. Gold is the number one safe haven asset. Number one. And what no one in the major media is talking about in the business section is the office building bust that's going to bring down the banks. As we're speaking, the office occupancy rate in the United States, according to Castle Systems with a K, is 51.8%. Your office vacancy rate ain't nobody there. 24% vacant. You could Google it up. About a month ago, Midtown Manhattan, a building that sold for $320 million in 2006, went up for auction, sold for $8.5 million. The buildings that have been built in the last 50 years, again, we only go by data, are non-convertible to housing. So that's the BS that they throw out there. You're going to see massive defaults on loans that's going to bring down the banking system. No one's talking about this. Oh, how about over there in the UK, that Canary Wharf, what did it sink? Oh, HSBC moved out one after another. Can't rent out the spaces. This is global. The COVID war changed life on Earth. People forget all about what happened. People forced to work at home. Yeah, again, not my data. Other tech companies, as reported, only 3% are demanding that the people come back to work 5 days a week. Nobody's talking about the banking crisis ahead. And again, the banks got all this dough, the reserves. What did they do when they got the money, when they dumped in trillions of dollars and told people you don't have to go to work, here's free money? Right. People with treasuries when interest rates are at zero. They don't have the dough to cover these losses. There's going to be bank failures like we've never seen. We're in 2024. Let's only go back to 2023. 3 banks went bust. The Silicon Conman Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and First Republic. The markets were crashing and gold prices are spiking. That was 3. You have some $4 trillion of commercial real estate loans coming due in the next 2 years and 4 months. They're going to default on these loans. The buildings are empty. You know, I'm up here in Kingston, New York. We're 90 miles north of New York City. This was the first capital, by the way, of New York. The British burnt it down, the Battle of Saratoga. More pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings here than anywhere else. And it was the third Dutch settlement. People are flooding out of the city. I've been up here where I'm in this location now since 2007. I know this area. Never before did I see young people with little kids in strollers. The city's turning to crap. It's just dirt all over. I mean, again, I'm a city guy. I'm a Bronx. You know, I know the city. Never before on a Sunday afternoon down in the West Village seeing people actually shooting up. You know, filth all over the streets. Over every scaffolding, there are homeless people. The damage that this COVID war has done is incalculable. The mentality's changed. Oh, by the way, 9 o'clock at night, dead. I'm in the Hudson Valley. I call it Death Valley. The city, when I was a young guy, we used to go out at 1 o'clock in the morning. Now it's dead again at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's a whole different world. The businesses are starting to go out of business now too, by the way, because now that free money that they dumped in, it's drying up. And again, we only look at the data. We got 3 companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street own 88% of the S&P 500. 1% own 54% of the equity markets. And when you put the 10% in, it's over 90%. You're looking now at first-time home buyers are hitting near a record low in the last half a century or more. They can't afford to buy a home. The home prices since the COVID war have gone up almost 50%. Who the hell can afford a house? You know, a nothing home. Median price was about $426,000. When your median household income is what? About $74,000?